previous John Peterkovich stands in front of his rental house in San Pedro. The retired architect is renting out the house until his daughter can afford to buy it. Like Peterkovich, 78% of rental house and rental condo landlords own just one property, according to Atom Data Solutions. Photo by Scott Varley, contributing photographer. The Baer family at their rental house in Huntington Beach. Pictured are Bob and Amber Baer, daughter Brielle, 11, and son Braden, 13. The Baers have been renting their 4-bedroom, 1,350-square-foot home for the past 9 years. Photo by Leonard Ortiz, Orange County Register, SCNG, Sound. The gallery will resume in seconds. Will Jarvis, 29, rents an apartment in Santa Monica but owns a rental house in Atlanta. I decided to buy a rental property out of state because your money goes further there, said Jarvis, a project manager for a construction company. Photo courtesy of Will Jarvis. Brielle Baer, 11, center, holds Katniss, the family cat, in the living room of the Baer family's rental house in Huntington Beach. The buyers have been renting their 4-bedroom, 1,350-square-foot home for the past 9 years, a period that saw a dramatic increase in rental houses across the country. 1 in 4 houses in Southern California is a rental, U.S. Census figures show. Photo by Leonard Ortiz, Orange County Register, SCNG. John Peterkovich stands in front of his rental house in San Pedro. The retired architect is renting out the house until his daughter can afford to buy it. Like Peterkovich, 78% of rental house and rental condo landlords own just one property, according to Atom Data Solutions. Photo by Scott Varley, contributing photographer. Next show caption: 1 of 4 John Peterkovich stands in front of his rental house in San Pedro. Retired architect is renting out the house until his daughter can afford to buy it. Like Peterkovich, 78% of rental house and rental condo landlords own just one property, according to Atom Data Solutions. Photo by Scott Varley, contributing photographer. Expand: a noisy neighbor drove the Baer family from their apartment into a rental house 9 years ago. The guy had his surround sound on every single night. It drove me crazy, said Bob Baer, 47, who now rents a 1-story house in Huntington Beach for $2,200 a month. I had to knock on the door to tell him to turn it down so I could sleep. I had to call the police several times. The switch from renting apartments to renting a 3-bedroom house on a quiet cul-de-sac gave the family a peaceful home at a reasonable rent. If Baer had his druthers, though, he'd buy a house instead, but that's not possible. Ad Choice Advertising and Red, invented by Tees. Start your day with the news you need from the Bay Area and beyond. Sign up for our new morning report weekday newsletter. If I did buy around here, I'd have a $4,200 payment, which I can't afford. And I don't want to buy a 2-bedroom condo, said Baer, a charter boat captain with a wife, 2 children and a feline named Katniss. I'm not happy. My money is going to rent instead of an equity investment. The buyers epitomize an ongoing trend in which the number of people renting houses has mushroomed. In Southern California, detached, single-family rentals increased 29% over the last decade, versus a 13% increase in apartment units, according to the most recent U.S. Census data. The tally jumped to 736,400 rental houses in 2016, equal to 1 out of every 4 houses in the region. The increase matches trends elsewhere. California had a 27% gain to 1.8 million rental houses in the most recent decade. Across the nation, detached, single-family rentals jumped 30% to 12.5 million in 2016. Renters are moving into houses for space, for schools or for privacy, a recent survey by UC Berkeley's Turner Center for Housing Innovation found. Landlords, on the other hand, range from small investors to gigantic hedge funds, but also include retirees hanging on to their old houses because they're in high demand. The single-family rental industry is one of the hottest and quickest growing parts of the housing industry in the last couple years, said Diane Toom, executive director of the National Rental Home Council, a group representing large, institutional single-family home landlords. The change could be contributing to a nationwide shortage of homes for sale. It also has numerous implications for family wealth and for policymakers, since there now are 7 million more renters in America than a decade ago, and nearly 414,000 more in Southern California. The Turner Center study found that while 80% of single-family tenants want to buy a home in the next 5 years, more than 90% have financial obstacles to buying. The Turner Center advocates policies such as the adoption of federal renter tax credit as well as expanded access to home ownership through credit repair counseling and alternative pathways like lease purchase options or equity sharing, where an investor shares the costs and benefits of ownership with a buyer. Owning a home is the primary mechanism for building wealth and economic mobility, said Carolina Reed, co-author of the Turner study. Without wealth, how do you pay for your kids' college education or create a better life for your heirs, she asks. It certainly is contributing to a significant loss of wealth to these individuals and communities, Reed said of the rental house increase. That's deeply troubling. Leasing, the American dream. The Inland Empire, which was ground zero for the foreclosure crisis, had the biggest gain in rental houses. Detached, single-family rentals increased 50% in San Bernardino County and 45% in Riverside County, census figures show. In Orange County, detached rental houses jumped 44% in the most recent decade, followed by an 18% increase in Los Angeles County. The reasons behind this trend are varied, experts said, but the aftermath of the foreclosure crisis is a key component. Millions of homeowners became renters, leaving more than 8 million U.S. homes available for investors to snatch up. The Turner Center study found nearly 27% of single-family renters who had been homeowners had lost a home to foreclosure. For more Bay Area housing affordability, home sales and other real estate news, follow us on Flipboard. Other factors include student and consumer debt, difficulties in qualifying for a mortgage, or not being able to save for a down payment. The rise of the millennial also is a contributing factor. As families grow, they outgrow apartments, and they outgrow shared walls, and they might want to go to where schools are better, said Gary Beasley, chief executive and co-founder of Roofstock, a company that helps investors buy rental houses. Whether you rent or own, it doesn't matter. The stigma of renting has gone away. Renting also gives tenants freedom from maintenance hassles or the independence to follow a job to a new community. Baby boomers increasingly are hanging on to their houses as they move into retirement communities, using the rent to help pay their bills, said Irma Vargas, chief financial officer for RST. And there's no shortage of tenants. There's a lack of rentals, Vargas said, but if people can afford it, they'd rather rent a home over an apartment. Obviously, they're more expensive. People strive to have the American dream, which is a house, added Mark Wolf, founder and CEO of AHV Communities, an Irvine-based builder of single-family rentals in Texas. And one of the ways to find it is through leasing. The landlord John Peterkovich intended to sell the San Pedro house he grew up in when his mother died in 2013. But grief, uncertainty and an inability to part with the hillside home overlooking Los Angeles Harbor and the Vincent Thomas Bridge made it impossible for him to sell. So the retired architect hired a property management firm and rented the house out. That ended up being a better decision since his daughter now wants to buy it. My daughter loves the house but can't afford it. So I'm going to hold on to the house until she can move into it, said Peter Kovich. The house, which rents for $2,795 a month, generates a good income, Peter Kovich said, but it also generates costs. Most of the income last year went into a new $11,000 roof. In recent years, he also put in new windows, plumbing, repiped the house and made numerous repairs and upgrades. He pays $150 a month to the property manager when the house is occupied, plus a $700 or $800 leasing fee when they fill a vacancy. They take care of all the complaint calls. They collect the rent, take care of the day-to-day things. Peter Kovich said. With a property management firm taking care of everything, it's a lot off your mind. Peter Kovich is representative of the typical rental house owner in America, figures from Irvine-based Atom Data Solutions show. As of March, 78% of rental house and condo landlords own just one or two properties, Atom figures show. 12% owned 3 to 10 units, while a mere 9% owned 11 or more. The vast majority are smaller mom-and-pops, said Darren Blomquist, Atom spokesman. New to the rental house scene are big institutional investors who began snatching up foreclosures in 2011 and turning them into vast portfolios of rental houses. Companies like Blackstone Group's Invitation Homes, with 82,570 houses, and Agora Hills based at American Homes for Rent, with 51,239 rental houses, essentially created a new asset from scratch, developing techniques for managing and maintaining rentals scattered across a metro area. The occupancy rate averages 96%, said Rick Palacios Jr., Director of Research for John Burns Real Estate Consulting in Irvine. In fact, demand for rental houses has been so strong, and inventory of reasonably priced investment homes so scarce, several companies are planning to build houses to increase their supply of rentals, Palacios said. While Southern California land prices are too high for the build-to-rent industry, it's profitable in markets like Phoenix, Central Texas and the Southeast. AAHV Communities already is building rental houses in the Austin-San Antonio area and plans to expand to other states. There's so much demand for this product that they are able to make it pencil in markets that aren't way out in the boonies, Palacios said. Cash flow positive. Then there are landlords like Will Jarvis, a Santa Monica renter who became a landlord in April, buying a rental house in Atlanta via Roofstock. Jarvis, 29, project manager for a construction company, initially planned to buy a house for himself, his fiancée and his pet beagle mix, Frank, after getting a small inheritance. But house prices are ridiculous and are getting more ridiculous by the day, he said. I decided to buy a rental property out of state because your money goes further there. He spent 9 months researching markets before deciding to invest in Atlanta. With a $20,000 down payment, he bought a vacant $100,000 house in an Atlanta suburb that normally rents for $1,050 a month, more than enough to cover his $650 monthly house payment. Under a Roofstock rent guarantee, the company will cover 90% of the rent for up to a year or until he finds a tenant. It's going to be cash flow positive right away, Jarvis said. Like Jarvis, Mark and Jamie Delgado are renting a house to free up their money to invest elsewhere. When he was single, Delgado rented duplexes by the beach with friends. Now that he's married with 2 young children, the 41-year-old management consultant and his wife pay $3,000 a month to rent a one-story house in Costa Mesa. "We like neighborhood living," Delgado said. "With a family, you value space and privacy." The Delgados plan to buy their own house within the next year or two, but renting a house allows them to test the waters and learn more about the neighborhood before putting down roots. "We're going to try until we buy," he said. El Segundo renter April Bucknell said she and her husband have no hope of buying, however. The family of 5 moved 2 years ago to a 1,000-square-foot house they rent for $3,225 a month after selling their house in Michigan for $230,000. "That's not enough to put a down payment on a house here," Bucknell said. "We'd have to have an $800,000 mortgage. My husband is paid well, but not that well." As renters, the Bucknells have no sense of security since they're not building equity, and a landlord can displace them anytime by issuing a 60-day notice should he or she decided to sell or move back in. "I feel like I've gone back to being an undergrad," said Bucknell, 43. "I've owned a home since I was 27. Now, I'm not in control of my property. All the walls are white, and they have to stay white. There's no storage, and we can't add storage. We were homeowners. Now we're back to renting." Sponsored content. Breakfast all day. You might also like 020. The sausage McMuffin with egg is available all day. McDonald's. Why you should apply for the HSBC Advance Credit Card. HSBC Bank. It's here. A quick and hassle-free loan for startups. OCBC Bank Singapore. Personal banking, business banking, wealth management. Download Telstra's programmable network ebook. Enterprise News. Telstra. It might sound crazy, but bacteria can help your skin. Lancome on Daily Vanity. This 29-year-old is disrupting the $72 billion watch portfolio Palo Alto Chase suspect stays defiant with. MercuryNews.com. Ask Amy, what happened in Vegas was spread through. MercuryNews.com. Is Klay Thompson dating Sublime supermodel Abigail? MercuryNews.com. Recommended by